Now, the Competition Commission will be celebrating its 15th year of competition enforcement in South Africa. Within those past years, it has contributed to the South African project of transforming the economy for the benefit of all South Africans through ownership, participation of small and medium enterprises, and employment. To talk more about this, we have the Commissioner of the Competition Commission of South Africa in studio with us, Tembinkosi Bonakele. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
So it's 15 years. What would you say has been the biggest role that the Competition Commission has played during these years?
Well, I think the most important cases people will recall is the what we call the collusion cases. So price fixing cases, market allocation cases. I think a lot of people will recall what was referred to as the bread saga, the
we can never
price
forget
fixing
that.
Saga. It was a huge case that actually, because it didn't just affect bread, it affected things like milled products, flour, maize meal, really the staple food for a lot of people in South Africa. We recently completed a project on collusion in construction.
Yes.
This is where we uncovered widespread collusion for infrastructure development and even some of the private sector construction projects, so the stadia, building of roads and things like that.
Yeah.
What people might not recall a lot is a long time ago we did work on HIV AIDS drugs, where we put a lot of pressure on multinationals who supply these drugs on pricing matters, and that contributed a lot in getting South African suppliers supplied these drugs at lower prices, which contributed to making sure that government is able to afford the prices. So I would say, for me, those are the major interventions that the authorities have made in the past 15 years, amongst many others. Of course,
yes,
we don't have time to
These
cover
are the biggest
all of them.
ones that we're looking at. What would you say has been the impact of the Commission for the people of South Africa, and most importantly, on the economy as well?
I think for the people, there is at least somebody out there who is watching markets. You see, markets, we call these free markets, but in reality, there are many instances where markets could be abused or markets could fail. And the fact that we have institutions that are out there, independent institutions that are watching over markets, I think is in itself a great comfort for ordinary South Africans. And indeed, it's very difficult to measure what in rands and cents that contribution would have been. But if you have price fixing are aimed at putting prices up. We prevented, for example, a merger that was proposed some time ago between Pick and Pay and Fruit and Veg City.
Yes.
Now you see those are fierce competitors now in many areas. And the evidence that came that led us to prohibiting that merger, we could see that where you have a Pick and Pay next to a Fruit and Veg City, the prices of fresh produce in Pick and Pay are lower than in other Pick and Pays where there is no fruit and veg. So that's a direct benefit to the consumer.
Yeah, and that indeed is what us as consumers here in South Africa actually want. And many argue that there isn't good competition here in South Africa, and that we're almost fall, into the section where you've got no option but to buy it. Otherwise, you're going to have to let down on quality. It's that if you don't want the quality, then you'll pay the cheaper price because the competition is not really there. How do we get away from that? How do we get to a point where, you're still buying quality but at a better price?
It's true that we have limited competition, and that's got to do with our history.
Yeah.
So if you go to products like cement, I say this because it's in the public domain, we've investigated the cement industry. There hasn't been even adverts that tell you which cement is better than the other.
Yeah.
There hasn't been adverts that tell you which cement is cheaper than the other. So those type of things you will find in other countries. Banks is another example. People are not advertising telling you which bank offers a better service or a better price. So I think we are getting there because this is about changing the culture as well. Now you're starting to see those adverts after after our interventions, you're starting to see people saying, bank with us because we can give you a better service.
Yes. Which is a good idea. Put it out there. Instead of us having to do the research, allow the advertisers to go out there and do proper competitive advertising, which is something that we were never, ever allowed to do. So I think it's a good idea. What do you think? Write to us. Let us know. The Competition Commission here in South Africa talking to us. 15 years. Congratulations. Thank you for talking to us. I wish we had more time. It's such an interesting conversation. Tembinkosi Bonakele is the commissioner of the Competition Commission in the country. All right, let us take a break here. When we